Reborn back in 1970, the first thing I did was give up my army enlistment slot and call off my engagement too. The whole village said I'd gone mad, but they didn't know. In my previous life, I was a king of soldiers, decorated for military merit. Yet in the end, I lay in a hospital waiting to die, and my wife ran off with someone else. In this life, I only want to stay with my family. Until I spread open my left hand, and that ring that had traveled through time with me was lying quietly in my palm. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital room was so sharp it made my head spin. I stared at the water stain on the ceiling like a mocking face. Li Qingshan, a famed king of soldiers, a people's hero. And this was how I ended up. My wife ran off with someone else, tubes all over my body, and not a single soul by my side. The only thing keeping me company was the ring on my left hand. I picked it up during a mission. It was neither metal nor jade, and no one could tell what the thing was. For decades, I wore it and never once took it off. The moment the line on the ECG went flat, I heard myself say, "Finally free." Then darkness. When I opened my eyes again, my nose was filled with the sour stench of moldy straw. The hard earthen Kong pressed painfully against my back, and I shot upright, my heart pounding against my chest like a drum. Where's this? The broken window lattice was pasted over with old newspaper, and outside someone was shouting at the top of their lungs about the production team starting work. I turned my head and saw the calendar poster on the wall. 1970. 1970. My hands trembling. I touched my face. Smooth. No wrinkles, no age spots. Tears surged out at once. Those unforgettable scenes flashed through my mind. When Mom died, she clutched my hand and wouldn't let go. My little sister jumped into the well, and that rainy night, when I personally shoved pregnant Wang Xiaolan out the door. Bro. With a creak, the ragged cotton curtain opened a crack, and a small face peeked in. 15 years old. Delicate and clean-looking, wearing a patched indigo military uniform. My throat tightened so much I couldn't speak. It was Qingshan. It was what my younger sister looked like when she was young. Bro, you're awake. She bounced over and sat on the edge of the Kong, helping tuck in my blanket. You've had a high fever for 3 days. Mom's been worried sick. Sis. My throat was dry. What's wrong with me? You must have burned your brains out. She reached out to feel my forehead, then unsure, leaned her head closer and pressed her cool forehead against mine, her warm breath brushing my face. After a while she said, "Bro, I think the fever's gone down. How do you feel?" In that instant, I was sure. This wasn't a dream. I had been reborn. Where are Mom and Dad? They went to work, left me to watch over you. Qingshan poured water from a metal thermos and handed me an enamel mug. I took it, and my gaze fell on my left hand. I froze. The ring. The ring that had gone into the crematorium with me was still perfectly intact on my hand now. In the decades of my previous life, I'd never felt there was anything special about it. But at this moment, I could clearly feel it was moving. Not physically moving. It was a kind of fluctuation, like a heartbeat, pulsing out from the ring in time with my own pulse. I closed my eyes and sent my consciousness inward. Then came a boom. A space. Vast, big enough to hold several rooms. It was empty, but I knew that as long as I wanted, I could stuff anything into it. I opened my eyes and raised my left hand. Sis, do you see anything on my hand? Qingshan leaned closer, blinked, and shook her head. Nothing at all, bro. The ring had turned invisible. Or rather, only I could see it. I took a deep breath and lifted the enamel mug to my lips, the hot water scalding the tip of my tongue and making it shrink back. My heart was in turmoil. This thing was the key to my rebirth. And also the confidence I needed to turn things around. Bro, I need to tell you something. Qingshan suddenly spoke, her eyes curved in a smile. News came back from the village about your enlistment. The organization has accepted the recommendation. Now it's just waiting for the political review and medical exam and all that. Secretary Liu said you'll definitely pass. Our family is going to be a military family now. What an honor. My hand holding the mug froze. Joining the army. In my previous life, that was the road I took to leave this place. Military exploits, honors, the title of king of soldiers, and what did it all amount to in the end? A hospital bed, a woman who betrayed me, and a belly full of regret. I'm not going, I said. Qingshan was stunned. What? I'm not joining the army. I set down the enamel mug, climbed down from the Kong, and planted my feet on the icy floor. I want to stay home. Bro, did your fever fry your brain? You've been going on every day about wanting to join the army. I thought it through. I grabbed the blue military uniform draped over the edge of the Kong and pulled it on. A real man can shine and make a difference anywhere. Do you have to carry a gun for it to count as a contribution? Qingshan stared at me as if I were a stranger. I finished dressing and pushed open the door. The late October wind rushed in, carrying the earthy smell left after the harvest. The yard wasn't big. Two speckled hens scratched at dried chili skins by the base of the earthen wall, and the stacks of firewood were piled neatly. Leaning against the wall, I walked slowly, my gaze sweeping over this home. 3 adobe rooms. 1 woodshed, 1 kitchen. The old elm by the wall was still there, half its leaves already yellow. I remembered that when famine struck in my childhood, the whole family survived because of that tree. The bark was ground into flour, and the elm seeds were used as grain. Life was still poor now, but at least no one was starving to death anymore. A dull rumble of the stone mill turning came from the woodshed. I walked over and saw Qingshan feeding corn kernels into the mill's eye. Sunlight sliced in through the cracks in the door planks, shining on the beads of sweat on the tip of her nose. A 15-year-old girl should have been studying in school, but the family was short on labor, so she had dropped out early. That was how it was in the village. Finishing elementary school was already considered pretty good. Bro, come look. Qingshan suddenly raised her hand like she was showing off a treasure. A crumpled candy wrapper. It was colorful, and the words "White Rabbit" could still be made out. She rubbed the wrapper on her pants, then turned and ran into the house, lifted the Kong mat, and tucked it into a copy of quotations from Chairman Mao. I recognized that book, even the cover had been worn white. I stood in the doorway, feeling as if someone had clenched my heart. In my previous life, in the autumn of my 2nd year in the army, my little sister used the candy wrapper she had saved for a whole year to trade with a peddler for a red hair ribbon, so she could go be looked over by a prospective husband's family. Later, that piece of red ribbon ended up wrapped around the bluestone edge of the well. 15 years old. She withered before she ever had the chance to bloom. In this life, I won't let that happen again. Sis, I heard myself say, my voice a little hoarse, from now on your brother will stay and watch over the family. I won't go anywhere. Qingshan turned to look at me, her eyes sparkling. Really? Really? The gong signaling the end of work for the production team sounded. I stood at the courtyard gate, watching the crowd disperse along the dirt road. 2 familiar figures came this way carrying wicker baskets on their backs. Mom had corn silk caught in her hair bun, and Dad's Zhongshan suit was patched over patch, dark and light with sweat stains. I remembered that outfit. It was an award he received at the commune commendation meeting back then, and he wore it for 10 years. Qingshan, you're well enough to get out of bed? Mom stepped over the threshold, and 2 outer cabbage leaves rolled out of the basket. She didn't even have time to brush off her hands before pressing one directly to my forehead. Her palm was full of calluses, making me itch. I grabbed her hand. Mom, I'm better now. From now on I can do the work at home. Don't wear yourself out too much. Zhang Yumei froze for a moment, her eyes reddening, but the corners of her mouth lifted. Good, good, good. Mom will listen to you. Dad squatted by the stove rolling tobacco. He struck the match 3 times before it lit. He took a drag, the tobacco pipe hanging from his waist, the red words, prepare for war, prepare for famine, on it worn faded. If the boy's really all better, tomorrow he can go to the threshing ground to thresh grain, he said. Oldly, Qingshan only got back to the fields today, let him rest one more day. Mom got anxious. Dad was silent for a while, the pipe bowl glowing and dimming twice before he finally nodded. We'll do as you say. When dusk fell, the firelight from the stove cast the shadows of the 3 of us on the wall papered with old newspapers. Qingshan sprinkled coarse grain flour into the iron pot, and Mom fished salty radish out of the pickle jar. When the enamel basin was set on the table, Dad suddenly produced an egg, as if by magic. For Qingshan to build himself up. You can't be careless with the army physical. The eggshell still had bits of straw stuck to it, freshly laid. My throat bobbed. In my previous life, I boarded the troop train holding this very egg. The whole family had tightened their belts to save it for me, but I hadn't managed to protect a single one of them. Dad, I pushed the egg back. I'm not joining the army anymore. The room fell silent. What did you say? The chopsticks in Mom's hand nearly fell. I thought it through. Staying home and working is the same. You can contribute to the country anywhere. Nonsense. Dad slapped his pipe onto the table. You've been going on every day about joining the army, and now you say you're not going just like that? How are you going to explain it to Wang Xiulan's family? The betrothal gifts have already been sent. Then I just won't marry her. What? I met Dad's eyes. Wang Xiulan is not a good match. She agreed to this marriage because I could join the army and have an iron rice bowl. Now that I'm not going, her mind will definitely change. Rather than have it turn ugly later, it's better to break it off now. Dad glared at me, his lips trembling. The older generation didn't understand these things. In their eyes, marriage was just about teaming up to live life together. There wasn't all that much to it. But I had seen the world of the future. A marriage without love, in a world overflowing with material desires, would sooner or later shatter without even scraps left. And besides, Qingshan suddenly cut in. Bro, I've been wanting to say this for a long time. That Wang Xiulan is scheming. And she's not proper either. I heard that bonk. I flicked her on the forehead. Are you even my real little sister? Something this big, and you're only telling me now? How would I dare? I thought she really was going to be my sister-in-law. Mom wiped her tears at the side. The betrothal gifts have been sent. The date's already been picked. If we say we're not marrying her just like that, how will our family hold our heads up in the village? What's more important, face or your life together? I looked at Mom. If the betrothal gifts can be returned, return them. If not, then treat it as paying for a lesson. What our family wants is someone who sincerely wants to live a life together, not someone fake and insincere. Mom said nothing, tears pattering down. After Dad finished a pipe full of tobacco, he tapped the ash against the edge of the Kong. I'll go talk. His voice was muffled. We can't let a little kid like you show up for this kind of thing. Tomorrow I'll go with the matchmaker. My heart warmed. Dad was traditional, stubbornly obsessed with saving face. But in the end, he still took it on himself. Thanks, Dad. Cut it out. Dad shot me a glare, then turned his face away. If you're not going to join the army, then what are you planning to do from now on? After the autumn harvest, you can't just squat around idle at home. I thought for a moment. Guard the mountain. What? Every year the village's grain gets ruined by wild boars. I'll be a mountain guard. I'll deal with those big beasts. Dad was about to light up again, but after striking the match twice without success, he simply set the pipe down. Guarding the mountain is work that risks your life. You've barely handled a gun a few times. How can you compare with those veteran hunters? Even black bears in the mountains can swat a man to death. I'll be careful, I said, and I've already talked it over with the village party secretary. I don't want work points. Whatever game I hunt counts as my own. No work points? Mom got anxious. Then what will you eat? If I get something, I'll eat. If I don't, I'll take the loss myself. Dad stared at me for a long while, then suddenly smiled. There was a bit of bitterness in it, and a bit of pride too. You stubborn brat. Just like me. Early the next morning, I went to the village committee. The most imposing building in Qingshan was this place, the blue brick, gray-tiled structure, with two old locust trees at the entrance. On the white wall, in neat red paint, were the words, "In agriculture, learn from Dazai." When I pushed the door open and went in, everyone was there. Party Secretary Liu, Accountant Wang, Director Li of the Revolutionary Committee, who also served as brigade leader, Militia Captain Li Qingshan, Women's Director Zhang Shulian, and a few militia members too. Party Secretary Liu Changrong tapped the table. Let me bring something up. Comrade Qingshan has voluntarily given up his enlistment quota and applied to serve as a mountain watcher. He wants no work points, only the game he hunts. Let's discuss it. The room buzzed with whispers for a while. Liu Qingshan was the first to nod. Qingshan is steady and hardworking. I agree. Accountant Wang chimed in. The mountain watcher bears heavy responsibility, he can handle it. Director Li frowned as he looked at me. Qingshan, if you don't want work points, you'll be the one taking a loss. Game is unpredictable, sometimes more, sometimes less. Have you thought it through? I have, I said. If I hunt little, I won't complain, but if I hunt a lot, the organization can't make me hand it over. Director Li was taken aback, then laughed. Kid, you've got confidence. Zhang Shulian cut in. If you really get a lot, you can exchange it with the brigade for work points. That way everyone gets to eat some meat. Wouldn't that be great? Of course that's fine. I nodded. Party Secretary Liu made the final call, then it's settled. You officially start tomorrow. When I came out, Liu Qingshan and the militia squad were already waiting in the courtyard. Including me, there were 7 of us in total. Uncle Qingshan patted my shoulder. Let's go. I'll first show you the routes. Uncle Qingshan had a Type 56 semi-automatic rifle slung over his shoulder. As for the stuff in the hands of the others, one look made me want to sigh. Hanyang 88s, old sleeve loading rifles. Some of their bolts could barely even be pulled back. These days bullets were in short supply and distribution had stopped, so those guns were no different from fire pokers. At present, the militia squad had 6 men, including the captain, Liu Qingshan, all of them strong and sturdy. With Li Qingshan joining today, that made 7, and they had only 2 Type 56 semi-automatic rifles. Everything else was a mishmash of outdated models, old as dirt. They were right in the middle of changing equipment, and no ammunition was being issued anymore, so they were no different from fire pokers. But I knew it clearly. With the ring there, with all the memories from my entire life in it, this squad armed with fire pokers, plus me as Soldier King Reborn, those wild boars in Qingshan probably weren't going to have good days ahead. And so the matter of becoming a mountain watcher was settled. After coming out together with the militia squad, Party Secretary Liu had arranged for Qingshan to get familiar with the mountain patrol routes with them today and to take a look at the specific details of mountain watching. Li Qingshan looked at the 2 guns they were carrying. They were Type 56 semi-automatic rifles. Each rifle used a 10-round magazine and was modeled after the Soviet SKS semi-automatic rifle. It entered standardized production in 1956 and was widely equipped nationwide in this era. At the time, it was considered a very good gun, and these had been maintained quite well, with very solid power and performance. Qingshan, do you know how to handle a gun? Li Qingshan asked with a smile. Sure, I've handled old Wang Pao's before. Using this newer gun shouldn't be a problem. Li Qingshan looked enviously at the gun in Li Qingshan's hands. Besides Captain Liu, the other gun was being carried by a man named Wang Taizhu. Wang Taizhu was old Wang Pao's son. A year ago, when old Wang Pao was serving as the mountain watcher, he was attacked by a large beast, and one of his legs was left crippled. After that, he couldn't keep doing mountain watching work, so he stepped down, and afterward there was no mountain watcher for a long time. Wang Taizhu gave a simple, honest grin. Brother Qingshan, how about we compare whose shooting is more accurate? Wang Taizhu, you're stirring things up again. Do bullets grow on trees? And you want a shooting match? Be careful and don't waste them. Captain Liu, I'm about to become a mountain watcher. It won't do if I don't have a gun in hand. Could you apply for a Type 56 semi-auto for me? Li Qingshan said. That's a bit difficult. Firearms have to be requested from higher authorities. But first, get familiar with the mountain patrol work. I'll do my best to help you get one. Li Qingshan patted Li Qingshan on the shoulder, as if they were very close, but in fact Li Qingshan wasn't counting on him at all. Relying on his status as militia captain, this Li Qingshan had done quite a few nasty things. In his previous life, it was this very man who, while he himself was away on the front line, got involved in an illicit affair with Wang Xiaolan. Of course, it takes two to tango. Now that he had been reborn and returned, those things had not happened yet after all. In this life, if Li Qingshan dared to act up again, he definitely would not show any mercy. Apply for it. Huh, Li Qingshan thought to himself. How long would it take before there was any news from an application? Most likely, it wouldn't even be submitted at all. It seemed the village was never going to issue him a gun. What was he supposed to do? How the hell was a mountain guard supposed to guard the mountain without a gun? What if he ran into a large beast? Li Qingshan calculated silently that he had to find a way to get a gun, or at least some weapon for self-defense. Captain Liu, I'll have to trouble you to put some extra effort into this gun matter. If it really doesn't work out, I'll get a gun myself. In those days, gun control was not yet very strict, and quite a few firearms and ammunition were still scattered among the people. Li Qingshan had an idea in mind, and decided to quietly ask around to see whose household in the village had an idle gun that he might be able to borrow. All right, I'll do my best to apply for a gun for you. It's fine if you get one yourself too. At present, registration and filing systems and the like were little more than a formality. As long as you didn't break the law or discipline, the village wouldn't interfere too much. Li Qingshan nodded, quietly planning how to find a suitable gun without drawing attention. Following the militia squad, he entered the red maple forest. His liberation shoes crunched on the decaying leaves. Li Qingshan suddenly crouched down, his fingers parting the shrubs, and there, fresh wild boar droppings were clearly visible. And he also saw some animal tracks. Li Qingshan could roughly judge what kinds of animals they were, how many there were, and their size and build. This knowledge, part of it had been taught to him by old Wang Pao, while the other part had been figured out through his own experience fighting in the wild in his previous life. But the comrades in the militia squad seemed not to care much about these things. They just walked the established route once, and if they came across prey, they'd fire their guns. If they hit something, that counted as a gain. If not, it didn't matter. Li Qingshan sighed inwardly. This kind of mountain patrol method was really not rigorous enough. Guarding the mountain wasn't just about hunting, it was even more about preventing trouble before it happened. Captain Liu's marksmanship wasn't even half as accurate as Wang Taizhu's. Wang Taizhu truly lived up to being old Wang Pao's son, inheriting his father's sharpness and steadiness. And he was obviously faster and more accurate, probably the result of frequent practice. After making one round, Captain Liu hadn't hit anything at all, while Wang Taizhu had caught 2 wild rabbits. And that was without deliberately going hunting. Captain Liu, is the patrol over just like this? Seeing the group looking ready to head back, Li Qingshan asked in some confusion. More or less. We took a look around today and fired a few shots. Any large beasts nearby will run far away when they hear gunfire. But Li Qingshan inwardly disagreed. He knew that relying only on gunfire to scare them off was no long-term solution. Truly guarding the mountain required careful observation and scientific precautions. Forget it. He'd just wait to collect this meat himself. Since they had entered a treasure mountain and returned empty-handed, if they didn't know how to use such good resources, then there was no point letting them go to waste. After returning to the village, everyone turned in their report and came out. Li Qingshan pulled Wang Taizhu aside and said in a low voice, "Brother Taizhu, can I borrow your family's gun for a few days? I'll use it for self-defense while guarding the mountain, and I promise I won't fire it recklessly." Wang Taizhu froze for a moment. "My family's gun burst. It's useless now. Didn't you know? My dad lost a leg last year because of that." "Oh, sorry, Brother Taizhu, I really didn't know. Since that's the case, then I'll think of another way." Li Qingshan felt helpless. Getting this kind of gear would have to be done bit by bit. Empty-handed, and with no possessions to speak of, how was he supposed to guard this stretch of forest? He made his way all the way to Secretary Lu's house. Li Qingshan took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Secretary Lu opened it, and, seeing him, frowned slightly. "Qingshan, what is it this time?" Li Qingshan gave an apologetic smile. "Secretary Lu, starting tomorrow I'll be guarding the mountain, so I wanted to ask if anyone in the village has a hunting rifle I could borrow to protect myself while I'm on duty." Secretary Lu pondered for a moment, then pointed toward old Zhang's house at the east end of the village. "He has an old hunting rifle at home. Go give it a try, but be careful. That gun is pretty old and not very reliable." Li Qingshan was delighted and quickly thanked him, then turned and headed for old Zhang's house. When he arrived, he knocked on the door and explained why he had come. Old Zhang narrowed his eyes and looked him over for a moment, then nodded. "All right, the gun's inside. Wait here while I go get it." Before long, old Zhang came out carrying a long gun. "Take it. Just remember to return it when you're done." Li Qingshan carefully took the mottled old hunting rifle and looked it over. Oh heavens, was this even a gun? This ought to be sent straight to a museum. The mottled metal was covered in rust, and the trigger felt unusually loose. I don't know if you've ever seen those old-fashioned hunting guns loaded with gunpowder, but the powder chamber on this one was even somewhat cracked, as if it would shatter at the slightest touch. This kind of gun fired iron shot or steel pellets. It barely counted as a single-barrel shotgun and was closer to an old musket. Li Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he held the gun, so he handed it back. "Uncle Zhang, thank you, but you'd better keep this gun. If I counted on it for self-defense, I'd be better off with a firewood stick." Li Qingshan left helplessly, secretly calculating in his heart. No knife. No gun either. So what was he supposed to do? A mountain guardian earned no work points and received no benefits at all, yet the responsibility on his shoulders was heavy. The forest was his home, and he had to protect the crops of Kaoshan village, keep them from being ravaged by wild boars, and when large beasts attacked the village, he had to charge to the front, drive away the animals, and ensure the villagers' safety. Meanwhile, while Li Qingshan was patrolling the mountain with the militia squad, his father, Li Yuanqing, brought the matchmaker Zhang Hohot to Wang Xiulan's home. There were 8 siblings in the Wang family, and Wang Xiulan was the youngest. With several older brothers and sisters above her, she had been doted on since childhood, and had developed a willful temperament. At the moment, her father, Old Man Wang, was at home, sitting in the main room drinking tea. Although Wang Xiulan was only 16, Old Man Wang was no longer young, much older than Li Yuanqing. Old Man Wang's eldest son was only 1 year younger than Li Yuanqing. Seeing Li Yuanqing come in, Old Man Wang set down his teacup and frowned. "Old Li, what are you here for?" Li Yuanqing gave an ingratiating smile. "Old Brother Wang, I came today to talk to you about something about Qingshan." Li Yuanqing paused. Old Man Wang picked up the thread. "What's up with Qingshan?" "Qingshan said he's not going to join the army and wants to stay in the village to guard the mountain." "What? Guard the mountain? How could my daughter marry someone who guards the mountain? Aren't you trying to cheat us?" Old Man Wang's face darkened, and he set the teacup down heavily, splashing a few drops of tea. Li Yuanqing smiled awkwardly and quickly explained. "Guarding the mountain is also a contribution to the village." Qingshan he. Before he could finish, Wang Xiulan stuck her head out from the inner room and coldly interrupted. "Guarding the mountain? Humph. I'd say he's avoiding responsibility." Li Yuanqing's expression changed slightly, but he still patiently explained. "Xiulan, Qingshan cares deeply about his hometown. He isn't avoiding responsibility." But Old Man Wang was already impatient. "No matter how you put it, he's still a loser. I won't agree to this marriage." The atmosphere suddenly turned tense. Li Yuanqing sighed helplessly. "Old Brother Wang, since you don't agree, then let's call off the marriage. Though Qingshan guards the mountain, he's still a real man and won't burden anyone. Let's part on good terms and not hurt the harmony between our two families." Old Man Wang let out a cold snort and said nothing more. Li Yuanqing turned to leave, but Zhang Hohot hurriedly tried to smooth things over. "Brother Wang, Xiulan is still young. Why not think it over a bit more?" But Wang Xiulan sneered. "Think over what? What future can someone who guards the mountain possibly have?" Li Yuanqing knew full well that further persuasion was useless, so he silently nodded and turned to leave. Zhang Hohat let out a sigh. She still had to stay behind to talk about the bride price. It was more appropriate to let the matchmaker mediate this sort of matter, so as to avoid everyone completely falling out. Zhang Hohat softly advised, Brother Wang, Xiulan, let's still discuss this bride price. After all, our two families have known each other for many years. Don't let this matter make things unpleasant. Old man Wang pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, the bride price won't be returned, but don't mention the marriage anymore. Wang Xiulan watched coldly from the sidelines, already having other plans in mind. Helpless, Zhang Hohat could only agree. Understood, I'll pass the message on to the Li family. She sighed inwardly, secretly wondering how to explain things to the Li family. After walking out of the Wang house, Zhang Hohat felt a jumble of emotions. Li Qingshan searched all around the house, front and back, and among the metal tools at home, aside from a firewood chopping axe and a kitchen knife, there was nothing else. He let out a helpless sigh. No gun, but getting a knife first would do. So he decided to go find the village blacksmith shop first and see whether he could have a handy knife forged. Most blacksmiths nowadays had switched professions, making them hard to find. Because of the times, everyone had to take part in collective production, and this kind of private handicraft workshop was not allowed. But doing a little of it in private was still acceptable, and everyone turned a blind eye. As long as it didn't affect collective production, no one would say much. There was a blacksmith shop in the village, but private individuals were no longer allowed to do this. Everything was under the collective now, and he helped forge some farm tools, scissors, kitchen knives, and the like for the village. This blacksmith was called Old Lu, and his craftsmanship was quite good. As for this Old Lu, the village hadn't set aside a separate place for him. Since it happened to be his family's ancestral craft, he set up a furnace in his own small courtyard. With a try-and-see attitude, Li Qingshan knocked on Old Lu's door and explained why he had come. Though Old Lu was already advanced in years, after hearing Li Qingshan's request, he nodded. Qingshan, I still have some old scrap iron here. Forging you a knife won't be a problem. What kind do you want? Li Qingshan thought for a moment, then drew on the ground the shape of a later-generation Nepalese kukri, with a long, narrow blade and a thick spine, a sharp edge, and most importantly, Li Qingshan added a non-slip grip groove, a handguard, and a loop at the handle for easier holding, because if he encountered a knife hunt situation, an unstable grip could be fatal. Old Lu narrowed his eyes and took a look, then nodded in approval. Fine. This kind of knife can both chop and thrust, suitable for going into the mountains. With that, he turned and went into the small courtyard, where the furnace blazed, and the sound of hammer striking iron rang out strong and clear. Old Lu's movements were skillful, and his son Lu Jijun helped out at the side. The father and son worked in perfect coordination, sparks flying everywhere. A brand new knife gradually took shape in the furnace fire. But this was going to take quite a bit of time, so Old Lu told Li Qingshan to come pick it up the next day. Uncle Lu, this knife is a huge help. I don't have any money right now. When the time comes, I'll get you some game to settle the account. What do you think? Old Lu nodded. That'd be great. These old bones of mine have been wanting a taste of wild game too. In times like these, common folk rarely get to eat meat more than a few times a year. So this kind of exchange is worthwhile, and neither side loses out. Li Qingshan was delighted, thanked him repeatedly, and then hurried home to prepare. As night fell, Li Qingshan was still busy, sorting out the gear needed for going into the mountains. There was some rope at home, so he started by making a few snares and such. While he was busy, his father Li Yuanqing came back. Qingshan, what are you doing? Making a few snares. I'm going to try my luck in the mountains tomorrow. Zhang Hohat and I went to the Wang family today. The marriage has been called off. Okay, if it's called off, then it's called off. It's fine. Dad, don't worry. I'll definitely find a wife, hee. Of course I know my son can find a wife. It's just. Li Yuanqing let out a sigh and continued. It's just that it's hard to get back the bride price we already gave. The Wang family is adamant about not returning it. We still have to keep this household going, so you need to think of more ways. I thought it was something serious. That wasn't much money. Dad, don't worry. Your son is very capable of making money. Just wait and see. So it turned out his father was worried about this. Li Qingshan chuckled and comforted his father. The older generation was just like this, reluctant to eat well or spend money on themselves. Back then, the money for marrying a wife was no small sum, $20. And with the usual holiday gift expenses added in, it was probably $30. In those days, $30 was no small amount, so life really did require careful budgeting. Li Qingshan calculated to himself that once he went into the mountains and hunted some game, it would not only cover the cost of the knife, but also bring in some money to help support the family. But being a good person is hardly Qingshan had originally thought. If the engagement was broken off, then so be it, and the two families could part on good terms. He never expected the Wang family to do something so despicable. The next day, the Wang family actually spread rumors in the village, saying that Li Qingshan had failed his physical exam, been rejected in marriage, and even said that he had a physical problem and was impotent. In this era, people liked to form cliques. The place where Kaoshan village was located was called Xinlin Town, which brought together several nearby large and small villages and was administered by Xinlin Town. There was a small gang in town called the Four Vajras, led by a man named Li Qingshan, who was also the militia captain of Kaoshan village. And another was Wang Xiaohu, Wang Xiulan's sixth older brother. As for the other two, Li Qingshan didn't know them. It was said they were local toughs from other villages. Speaking of the clique forming at that time, it was far more real than what came later. At the slightest provocation, fists would fly, and there could even be armed brawls. These four were said to be sworn brothers who had drunk chicken blood wine, burned yellow paper, and kowtowed an oath. And they all liked to give themselves flashy titles, nicknames like the 5 Tigers of Xinlin or the 13 Guardians of Xinlin and the like. Earlier that day, Li Yuanqing had gone to call off the engagement to be precise. He had gone to the Wang family to explain the situation. Whether the marriage should continue or not depended entirely on the willingness of both families. Unexpectedly, the Wang family was the first to go back on their word. When Wang Xiaohu came home and heard about it, after discussing it with his brothers and sisters, he felt humiliated and hatched an evil plan. He called a few of his sworn brothers from the 4 Vajras of Xinlin to find a place that night to drink. So while Li Qingshan was at home making snares, the 4 Vajras entered the state-run restaurant in town, ordered several substantial dishes, and drank boisterously while discussing how to teach Li Qingshan a lesson. Big brother, actually, the Wang family didn't suffer any loss in this matter. It's just disgusting. Here's what I'm thinking. If my little sister talks about marriage again in the future, who knows what outsiders will say about her? So we have to find a way to make up for it. First, to give my little sister a good reputation, and second, to let that brat Li Qingshan know who's boss. Wang Xiaohu voiced the idea he had discussed with his family. Sister Xiulan already has a good reputation to begin with. We can't let Li Qingshan ruin it. The crowd slammed the table and shouted angrily. Lu Changming slapped his thigh, a vicious glint flashing in his eyes. Then let's do it this way. Since Li Qingshan can't become a soldier anymore, we'll make an issue out of that. Like this. We'll say he failed the physical exam because he has a hidden ailment, and spread it around so he can't hold his head up. Smack someone across from him clapped and praised the idea. That's a good plan. We'll say he can't perform as a man. That way Sister Xiulan's reputation will be preserved, and Li Qingshan won't be able to hold his head up in the village either. Oh wow, Gaozheng, that's a great idea, absolutely brilliant. Haha. Everyone burst into laughter. So this man's name was Gaozheng. The group ate and drank ravenously for a while. Another man spoke up. Brothers, I have a big deal here. We might as well use this opportunity to make a fortune. Everyone instantly perked up and put down their wine cups one after another. The group exchanged glances, and Lu Changming raised his brows and asked, "What kind of deal is Zhao Kuei talking about?" So this man's name was Zhao Kuei. Brothers, sit tight first before we talk about this. Since it's a big deal, the profits will naturally be substantial, but the risks are high too, so we need to talk it over. Zhao Kuei lowered his voice and glanced around mysteriously, then continued. Someone came to me looking to buy bullets for the Type 56 semi-automatic, quite a lot of them, and at a high price. We have connections on hand. As long as we're careful, this money is ours for sure. But this matter must be kept secret. Once it leaks out, we'll all be in deep trouble. Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed drastically, and their drunken haze instantly vanished. Lu Changming frowned and pondered for a moment, then said in a low voice, "This deal really is tempting, but the risk is too great. If we get investigated, we're all done for. We need to come up with a foolproof plan and make sure nothing can go wrong." Gaozheng nodded in agreement. "That's right, we need to plan this carefully. We can't let a single mistake ruin our future." Lu Changming was actually thinking clearly. "Brother Zhao Kuei, which outlet is this going through? The pigeon market?" Zhao Kuei smiled. "No, the pigeon market is too easily watched. This time we're going into the mountains." Zhao Kuei pointed north. Gasped, the whole room could be heard sucking in cold breaths. And everyone looked at each other. A trace of resolve flashed through Lu Changming's eyes. "How much? At what price?" Zhao Kuei held up 3 fingers. 1 crate, 2,000 rounds, 500 yuan. Everyone fell silent for a moment. Gao Zheng broke the deadlock. "That price really is tempting. But who are the people in the mountains?" When Gao Zheng asked that, Everyone looked up at him with disdain. Gao Zheng was still a bit baffled. Why are you all looking at me like that? In the mountains, wanting that many bullets, it has to be that bunch. Li Qingshan let out a cold laugh. Since it's that bunch, then we have to act carefully and not let them turn around and bite us. Zhao Kuei nodded. Right, we need a middleman to ensure safety. Everyone nodded one after another, and the atmosphere grew more and more tense. Gao Zheng swallowed hard. Then how do we split it? Li Qingshan's gaze swept over the crowd. I can spare half a crate on my end, and Zhao Kuei can provide the other half, and that makes a full crate. And the errand running can be left to Gao Zheng and Xiaohu. We'll split the money 50-50. What do you all think? It turned out Zhao Kuei was the militia captain of another village and also had goods in hand. But not enough, so he pulled Li Qingshan and the others in to do it together. The group exchanged glances once more and finally reached an agreement. Seeing the matter settled, Zhao Kuei smiled smugly, thumping his chest as he guaranteed, "Don't worry, I've already figured out the route. As long as we do as I say, there will absolutely be no problem." What do you mean by that? Li Qingshan wasn't easy to fool, and he narrowed his eyes as he asked. To be honest with you, big brother, I already made one trip last time. After saying that, he picked up his wine cup on his own and took a light sip, smugness written all over his face. Only then did everyone relax, and after that they began conspiring over the details together, which we will leave aside for now. Now then, when Li Qingshan heard about this the next day, he was first furious beyond measure. He clenched his fists, his eyes blazing with anger, and then he started laughing, the kind of laughing that leaves you bent over. Look, if you want to protect your own girl's reputation, you can't trample all over me like this, can you? Li Qingshan was an 18-year-old young man, handsome and fine-looking, and saying he was impotent was just too much. So when he came to pick up the knife the next day and passed by the educated youth quarters in the village, he happened to run into a few educated youths chatting there. Hearing these rumors, Li Qingshan simply stopped, walked straight up to them, and laughed loudly. Brothers and sisters, I heard there's something wrong with my body. Today I'll let everyone see who exactly is the one with the problem. With that, he took off his shirt, revealing his solid muscles. Among the educated youths were both men and women, and they looked at each other, then all shook their heads and laughed, and the rumor collapsed on its own. Li Qingshan's move not only left the educated youths speechless with laughter, but even the watching villagers began talking among themselves. Li Qingshan added, "Everyone, if anyone still thinks I can't do it, let's test it out." Several female educated youths blushed crimson and spat in embarrassment, while the male educated youths burst out laughing. The villagers roared with laughter even more, all giving him a thumbs up, and the rumor instantly vanished into thin air. Li Qingshan put his shirt back on, laughing to himself. This tactic of retreating in order to advance had indeed worked. Li Qingshan had many things to do in the mountains today. First, set snares, and then test the abilities of this space, which he still didn't fully understand. At home, his younger sister had been clinging to him the whole time, making it hard to experiment. So, after Li Qingshan picked up the knife and exchanged a few pleasantries with old Lu the blacksmith, he set off on the road into the mountains. At this time of year, the mountain wind had not yet turned biting, and the pines rustled in waves. Birds chirped crisply in the woods, and sunlight filtered through the branches and leaves, casting mottled patches of light and shadow. He felt his way deeper into the mountains, and after about 2 hours of walking, this place had already become rarely visited, so quiet all around that only insects and birds could be heard. Yesterday, Li Qingshan made more than 20 snares out of hemp rope, mainly to catch small animals such as wild rabbits and pheasants. What people here often call gray dogs or squirrels, and jumping cats are wild rabbits. As he walked, he tracked signs. Tracking signs meant judging animals' movements based on traces they left behind, including footprints and droppings. And even more skillful was examining leftover food, bite marks and scrape marks on branches, leaves, or tree stumps, so as to determine the best places to set the snares. Li Qingshan had all this work down pat. He skillfully set the snares along paths animals often used, handling every detail just right. In less than an hour, all 20-plus snares had been set. Then came today's most important task, studying that magical ring. Li Qingshan didn't know whether his rebirth was connected to this ring, but he was certain that this ring seemed to hold secrets unknown to others. Look at what he was busy doing now. Putting a stick in, then taking it out, then putting the knife in, then taking it out, then making a stone disappear and bringing it back, as if performing magic. He also ran to the stream, put some water in, then took it out again, and the droplets were completely intact. Then he got a torch, put it in, took it out, and had a wonderful time playing around. Then he saw that one of the snares had caught a jumping cat, and Li Qingshan's face lit up with joy. So he tried putting it into the ring and then taking it out. Oh ho! The instant it was put in, the jumping cat died immediately. Li Qingshan's heart jolted. This ring could not take in living things. At last, after spending most of the day studying it, he came to a conclusion. Inside the ring's space, there was no concept of time, no temperature, no air, and no gravity. And any living thing that entered would instantly lose its life. Another thing was that there were limits to what he himself could put inside. When storing something, the target could not be more than 5 meters away from him. Otherwise, the ring would not react at all. No matter what, this ring truly was a rare treasure. Despite its limitations, it still secretly delighted Li Qingshan. Why? Because he didn't have a gun right now. Without a gun in these deep mountains and old forests, this ring had undoubtedly become his best weapon for self-defense. Whether for hunting or avoiding danger, it could be of great use. Still, he had to buy a gun. Li Qingshan calculated silently to himself that once he had saved enough money, he would definitely go to the town and buy a reliable hunting rifle. For now, the only way to save money was through game. With no other option, he decided to step up his hunting efforts. He could come back and collect the snares after setting them. So he continued searching through the forest, carefully observing every possible trace of prey. After walking a bit farther, he discovered a string of fresh wild boar tracks. A sharp glint flashed in Li Qingshan's eyes as he cautiously followed them. Along the way, he noticed plants that had been gnawed by boars and signs of churned-up soil, which made him even more certain. At the mouth of a narrow valley, he stopped, carefully looked around, and confirmed that the boars should be nearby. He checked the wind direction, steadied his breathing, and slowly moved closer. Wild boars usually live in groups, and from what he observed, this group of wild boars seemed to consist of 3, 1 large and 2 small. At this time of year, food was plentiful in the mountains, and wild boars were highly active. Li Qingshan held his breath and focused. Gripping the Nepalese military knife tightly in his right hand, his footsteps light as he tried to avoid making any sound. Suddenly, a low grunting sound came from the left, and Li Qingshan's heart tightened, and he quickly hid behind a large tree, holding his breath as he watched. There, not far away, 3 wild boars were foraging, while the large boar warily scanned the surroundings. It was a sow, weighing a bit over 200 jin, with 2 little yellow-haired piglets, each weighing around 100 jin. He didn't see the big boar balls, that is, the large male boar with long tusks. And Li Qingshan silently felt relieved. His gaze sharpened as he estimated the distance and angle, quietly calculating the best moment to strike. The sow seemed to sense something unusual, stopped foraging, pricked up her ears, and sniffed around. Fortunately, he was downwind, and Li Qingshan held his breath, his heart pounding like a drum. After sniffing around for quite a while, and finding nothing suspicious, the sow finally relaxed her guard and lowered her head to continue foraging. Even though it was a sow, her fighting power was not to be underestimated, and Li Qingshan knew this well. He tightened his grip on the knife handle and waited for the right moment. The best plan was still to use the ring holding the knife was just a precaution. Although a sow was not as aggressive as a big male boar, its vitality was still tenacious, and taking it on head-on with a knife was clearly unwise. Li Qingshan's target was the little yellow-haired piglets. Ideally, he wanted to take down both of them. The meat was good. It would be best if he could get the sow too, but that was currently rather difficult. Wanting to get within 5 meters without being noticed was pure fantasy. Slowly, the 3 wild boars, grunting and rooting around for fallen pine cones on the ground, gradually moved this way. Li Qingshan took a deep breath. Closer, closer, and closer. This was the moment. Li Qingshan flicked his left hand and quietly activated the ring, rapidly focusing his mental power and locking onto the 2 little yellow ones. In an instant, the ring flashed, and an invisible ripple silently spread out, precisely enveloping the 2 little yellow-haired piglets, which vanished from the spot at once. The sow also sensed something was wrong at that moment, letting out a terrified squeal. She looked around but couldn't find the piglets, and immediately became frenzied, charging straight toward where Li Qingshan was hiding. Good, I was worried you wouldn't come. Li Qingshan quickly dodged, circling the big tree once and using it as cover as he responded calmly, inwardly marveling at the ring's power. The sow furiously rammed the tree, sending branches and leaves flying everywhere. Just as the sow and the tree were locked in a fierce struggle, the opportunity came. At such close range, Li Qingshan flicked his left hand again and activated the ring once more. With a flash, an even stronger ripple instantly enveloped the sow, and her massive body disappeared as well. Ha! Li Qingshan let out a long breath, secretly pleased with himself. With this battle over, Li Qingshan had practically won without lifting a finger. This hunt had truly gone as if aided by the gods. He checked on the 3 wild boars in the space, and only relaxed after confirming they were dead beyond any doubt. There was no rush to deal with them inside the space anyway. Nothing would spoil there, nor would it stink. He could wait until he got home and let his dad handle it, since dealing with all this by himself would take who knew how long. Just as Li Qingshan was about to head back, collect the snares, and go home, he suddenly heard footsteps not far away. Following the sound, he saw 2 figures sneaking this way. As they gradually came into view, he recognized one of them as Wang Xiaohu from the village, along with another man. Li Qingshan knew Wang Xiaohu. He was Wang Xiulan's 6th brother. He didn't recognize the other man, but judging from how furtive the pair looked, they were clearly up to something. Li Qingshan quickly hid behind a tree, holding his breath as he watched their movements. The 2 walked in fits and starts, occasionally lowering their heads to talk, as if searching for something. Wang Xiaohu held a map in his hand, comparing it with the surroundings from time to time. Li Qingshan's heart tightened. Could it be that they were after these wild boars too? He quietly moved closer, trying to hear their conversation clearly, but found their voices too low to make out. At that moment, Wang Xiaohu suddenly stopped and pointed in the direction where Li Qingshan was hiding. The 2 looked alert as they slowly approached. Li Qingshan inwardly cursed his luck and quickly slipped behind a bush to hide. His heart raced, and he tried his best to keep his breathing quiet. As the 2 drew closer step by step, the branches and leaves of the bush trembled lightly, as if ready to give away his position at any moment. Wang Xiaohu said softly to his companion, "Gaozhong, judging by the map, it should be this direction." The 2 discussed it with each other and kept moving forward. They passed just 3 meters in front of Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan held his breath until the 2 had gone far away, then slowly stuck his head out, thinking to himself, "A map? What are they looking for with a map? And that guy is called Gaozhong, he's not from Kaoshan village." Li Qingshan decided to follow them and see what was going on, so he quietly tailed them, keeping a safe distance while thinking about how to uncover the truth. He watched as Wang Xiaohu and Gaozhong walked along, studying the map as they went, stopping every now and then, making slow progress. It wasn't until dusk was approaching that the 2 finally stopped in front of an abandoned stone house. Wang Xiaohu seemed somewhat excited, and said in a low voice, "This should be the place." Gaozhong nodded, and the 2 called out toward the stone house. "Brother, have you ever seen the bright moon at the 3-way fork?" A deep voice came from inside the stone house. "The moon shines in the heart, and the road lies beneath your feet." Wang Xiaohu and Gaozhong exchanged a smile and pushed the door open. The inside of the stone house was dimly lit, and they could vaguely make out a person sitting upright inside, toying with a piece of ancient jade in his hand. The man looked up, his gaze sharp as he swept it over the 2 of them, and asked calmly, "You found the right place. Did you bring the token?" Wang Xiaohu quickly pulled a copper coin from his clothes and handed it over. The man took it, examined it carefully, and nodded in approval. The atmosphere immediately eased. Hidden in the dark, Li Qingshan watched everything unfold, growing even more puzzled. "This looks just like spies making contact. What are they up to?" He quietly moved closer to the stone house. The qualities of a soldier king from his previous life proved immensely useful. He moved with ghost-like stealth, his breathing barely perceptible. Peering through a crack, he saw the 3 men sitting around inside. The man in the house had a full beard and was speaking in a low voice. "The goods are ready, a whole crate. They can be delivered in 3 days. The location will be Eagle Cliff." This was Wang Xiaohu's voice. "Eagle Cliff won't do. It's too much trouble to get there. Change it to Black Wind Pass. It's rarely visited, so it's safer there," said the bearded man inside. "Fine, Black Wind Pass it is. Everyone make your own preparations. Money in one hand, goods in the other." Gaozhong said, "Don't worry, the tiles are clamped tight. Not a single leak," the bearded man said with a disdainful smile. Li Qingshan's heart jolted. A deal at Hai Fengku clearly meant something was about to happen. What exactly was in that whole crate of goods? He had to find out the truth. He watched as the 3 men inside the house came out and split up. One way, the bearded man from the house disappeared deep into the dense forest. The other way, Wang Xiaohu and Gaozhong hurried toward the village entrance. Which one should he follow? After a brief moment of thought, Li Qingshan decided to follow the bearded man heading into the mountains and see what was going on. The sky gradually darkened, and Li Qingshan concealed himself as he followed closely behind. Under the moonlight, the shadows of the trees swayed, and the sound of footsteps was swallowed by the night wind. The mountain path was rugged, yet the bearded figure walked with steady steps, clearly very familiar with the terrain. Li Qingshan stayed on high alert. advancing with utmost caution, afraid of exposing his trail. The night grew darker, and all around was silent save for the constant chirping of insects, as if accompanying this nighttime pursuit. Suddenly, the bearded man had stopped and looked back. Li Qingshan quickly hid behind a tree, holding his breath. The other party noticed nothing unusual and continued forward. This nighttime pursuit was like a silent contest, and Li Qingshan refused to let up. Finally, 3 hours later, he saw the bearded man enter a hidden mountain cave, its entrance overgrown with vines and difficult to detect. At night, a faint light shone from inside the cave. Li Qingshan carefully approached and vaguely heard low voices coming from within. "Boss, people came from town today, saying the goods are ready, and the deal will take place at Haifengku in 3 days." "Oh, how much?" "They said a whole crate." "That's great, 2,000 rounds, enough to get us through the winter." The boss's voice was full of excitement. Li Qingshan was startled. 2,000 bullets was no small amount. Where did Wang Xiaohu and the others get so many bullets? "Boss, do you think we should really pay them?" "Of course. What are you thinking? Say it." The boss stumbled over his words. "Haha, boss, I was thinking, why don't we pull a double cross? Let's get the goods first, and as for the money, we can talk about that later." The voice carried slyness and coldness. The boss fell silent for a moment, then said, "Not a bad idea. We stuck to the rules and traded fairly before because we still needed them. But once we have the goods, winter will be here soon, and they won't easily come looking for us. Once spring comes next year, we'll move somewhere else, and no one will be any the wiser." Ha ha. Li Qingshan was alarmed to hear this. This group was actually planning a double cross. Should he play the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? If he wanted to be that oriole, he first had to find out the strength of this group. He quietly withdrew, circled to the back of the cave, and observed through a crack. Inside were 7 or 8 men, each holding a weapon, all carrying Type 56 semi-automatic rifles. Their expressions were relaxed, probably because they believed this place was very well hidden and that no outsiders had ever set foot here, so they couldn't even be bothered to post a sentry outside. Seeing that the other side had only 7 or 8 men and guns, these people were probably habitual roaming criminals, but they had never received formal training, so their combat capability was limited. Heaven really is helping me. Li Qingshan slowly backed out and, under cover of night, returned to Kaoshinton. By the time he got home, dawn was already breaking and the sound of roosters crowing was rising. Li Qingshan dumped the 3 wild boars from his space into his own yard, quickly drained their blood, along with a few rabbits. He had snared these rabbits while studying the ring and had put them away at the time. He still hadn't collected the other snares yet. He quickly secured the courtyard gate, returned to the house, and fell into a deep sleep. There was no need to worry about the game when his mother and father got up in the morning and saw it. They would take care of it. Sure enough, Li Qingshan had only been lying down for a short while when Li Yuanqing and Zhang Yumei, the married couple, got up and were just about to go to the kitchen to make breakfast when the wild boars and rabbits in the yard startled them. Li Yuanqing hurried over. Zhang Yumei exclaimed, "Where on earth did Qingshan get these wild boars? Where else could they have come from? Didn't he go into the mountains yesterday? He didn't come back at midnight, so he must have hunted them in the mountains." As he spoke, Li Yuanqing picked up the knife on the ground. It was that Nepalese military knife. Li Qingshan knew the family didn't even have a hunting knife, so he had deliberately left it here. Zhang Yumei nodded. Though she was puzzled, she didn't ask more and turned to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Li Yuanqing skillfully handled the prey, secretly admiring his son's capability. Before long, his younger sister Li Qingshan got up too. Seeing the game all over the yard, she cried out in surprise, "Big brother is amazing." She rolled up her sleeves to help clean up, her eyes full of admiration, surprise, and joy that was practically soaring. Li Qingshan slept until late in the morning before the birds outside the window woke him. Stretching, he recalled last night's danger, and a faint smile curved at the corners of his mouth. The prey was already gone from the yard, leaving only a faint smell of blood. His mother was busy working, and when she saw him up, she scolded with a smile. "Lazybones, hurry up and wash up, the food's already cold." "Mom, you didn't go to work today?" "It's already noon, my dear eldest son. I came back for lunch." "Huh." Li Qingshan looked up at the sky, and it was true. In these days without a phone or a watch, his sense of time depended entirely on sunrise and sunset. He really had returned completely to nature. He smiled and shook his head, quickly washed up, and rushed to the table. The whole family sat around it, and the table was filled with a lavish spread of wild game, its aroma enticing. "You got so much meat. Your dad took one big one and one small one to the village committee today, just like you agreed with Secretary Lu before, to exchange them for some work points. His mother explained as she put food into Qingshan's bowl. Sure, since our family can't finish it all anyway, let's trade it. Li Qingshan ate in big bites. All right, this afternoon I'll take some meat to old Lu the blacksmith. I still haven't paid for that knife last time. He said I could repay him with meat once I got some game. Sure, go ahead. We've got no shortage of meat at home now, and we've kept more than enough. His mother smiled and nodded, then continued. Remember to bring some rabbits to his family too. His little grandson likes to eat them. Also, come back earlier tonight. Don't stay out until midnight again. Looking at his dad, mom, and little sister, Li Qingshan could see they were all being very sparing with the meat dishes, as if reluctant to eat them. Li Qingshan reached out with his chopsticks and put a lot of meat into his younger sister's bowl, smiling as he said, "Eat more. You're still growing." Qingshan blushed, lowered her head, and shoveled in her food, but her heart felt warm. Then he launched into a whole lecture aimed at his parents. "You two eat more too. We have to finish all this meat today. If there's any left, no one's allowed to leave the table. Hey, you brat. First you're managing heaven and earth, and now you're even trying to manage your old man's eating." Li Yuanxing laughed and cursed affectionately, but he didn't refuse. He picked up a piece of meat and chewed it in big bites. Zhang Yumei couldn't help laughing too. "Old Li, go on, eat more. You're the one doing the heaviest work in the family. We're all counting on you. Everyone eat, everyone eat. Such good food, too bad there's no time for a drink. There's still work this afternoon. We'll have a drink tonight and relax properly." Li Yuanxing laughed heartily. After the meal, Li Qingshan slung a basket on his back, loaded it with several rabbits, and also took some wild boar rump meat. This cut came from the pig's backside, and the meat was the most tender and also had some fat. People liked fatty meat in those days. It counted as quite a decent gift. He headed straight for old Lu's blacksmith shop. When old Lu saw Qingshan coming, he came up to greet him cheerfully. "Kid, you're really something. The whole village got meat today, so what good stuff did you bring this time?" Qingshan handed over the meat and said with a smile, "Uncle Lu, take a good look." Old Lu weighed the meat in his hand and nodded in satisfaction. "Good. You're a loyal kid. If you ever need anything, just tell me." "Thanks, Uncle. I'll take a shovel too, for digging traps." Uncle Lu casually handed him a shovel. "Here, take it." "All right, Uncle, you stay busy, I'm off." Li Qingshan took the shovel and turned to leave. Then he carried the basket on his back and went to the Women's Director's house, Secretary Lu's house, his old uncle Li Yuanshan's house, and Accountant Wang's house as well. Of the village committee households, the only one he didn't visit was Lu Chengming's. And at the very end, he also went to Wang Taiju's house. Old Wang Pao had previously taught Li Qingshan some craft skills, so he had to show a little appreciation. As soon as he arrived at old Wang Pao's house, old Wang Pao was busy repairing farm tools. Seeing Qingshan arrive, he put down what he was doing and greeted him. "Qingshan, come. What brings you here?" Qingshan handed over the meat and said with a smile, "Uncle Wang, I brought you some meat." "Kid, why be so polite? The village already handed out meat today, and you still made a special trip to bring some." Old Wang Pao took the meat, beaming with delight. "Come in and sit for a while, have some water." Li Qingshan was just about to decline and leave when Wang Taiju came back and greeted him with a smile. "Qingshan's here? Perfect, stay and have dinner with us." Li Qingshan smiled and waved his hand. "No, I still need to get back and help at home." Wang Taiju didn't insist and pulled Qingshan over to the corner of the wall. "That Lu Chengming is no good. Last time he said he'd help you apply for a gun, but he never applied at all, so don't count on it. I could tell a long time ago that guy has too many schemes and isn't reliable." Li Qingshan nodded. "You know, that guy has been trying to pull some new stunt again lately. When he was returning the gun today, I saw him fiddling with a box of bullets in the warehouse, his eyes darting around like he was plotting something. I figure he is probably up to some little trick again." Hearing this, Li Qingshan's heart stirred. "So this is where the root of it is. Kid, then don't blame me for not holding back." A cold glint flashed through Li Qingshan's eyes, and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. "Brother Taiju, I understand. Looks like I'll have to figure out how to get a gun myself. Brother Taiju, keep an eye on that Lu Chengming these next few days. And if anything seems off, tell me right away." Wang Taiju nodded in agreement. "Don't worry, Qingshan, I'll keep an eye on him." Li Qingshan waved goodbye and turned to leave. Qingshan walked along, delivering gifts as he went. Laughter kept ringing out among the neighbors, and the atmosphere was especially warm. The day passed just like that. At dusk, Qingshan returned home and saw his parents busy tidying up the yard, while his younger sister was feeding the chickens. He set down the basket and said with a smile, "Everyone seemed pretty happy today. Our family's meat was really popular." His mother looked up and smiled. "You little rascal, I knew you'd handle it perfectly. Go wash up, dinner's almost ready." As she spoke, Li Qingshan's family was sitting around the dinner table, with steaming dishes giving off a rich aroma. In the village committee warehouse, Lu Changming was secretly opening that box of bullets, a sly glint flashing in his eyes. He carefully counted them, then took the stock-out register and flipped through it page by page, even taking up a pen and making some changes to the register, with a smug smile curling at his lips. After finishing this whole series of little tricks, Lu Changming quickly hoisted the half box of counted bullets onto his shoulder and quietly slipped out of the warehouse, hurrying away along the path behind the village, where two people were there to meet him. Those two were Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng. When Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng saw Lu Changming arrive, they quickly stepped forward. Wang Xiaohu asked in a low voice, "Is everything taken care of?" Lu Changming nodded and handed the half box of bullets to them. He cautioned, "Be careful, don't let anyone find out." "Don't worry, Brother Changming, it'll be foolproof." Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng took the bullets and quickly hid them in the burlap sack they had prepared in advance. The two men wordlessly lifted the burlap sack and quickly disappeared into the night. During the first half of the night, Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng took delivery from Lu Changming. Meanwhile, in the second half of the night, Zhao Kuei had also made his preparations, but instead of bringing a standard wooden crate, he filled an old suitcase with boxes of bullets and delivered it to the prearranged location, where Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng had already been waiting for quite some time. Zhao Kuei softly instructed, "Be careful. Make sure to deliver it to the designated place before dawn." The two nodded and quickly carried off the suitcase. The night was as black as ink. By the faint starlight, Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng carefully made their way through the village. They hid Lu Changming's half crate of bullets from earlier in the hollow of a large tree, which was concealed and not easy to discover. There, the two busied themselves for quite a while, transferring the bullets from the suitcase into a wooden crate to make up a full crate, then covering their tracks with dirt and leaves. After confirming that everything was in order, the two exchanged a glance and quickly withdrew without a word. The two of them had been busy all night tonight. Time was tight. Work like this could only be done at night, then they went home to sleep, planning to get a good, full sleep today to make sure they could reach Haifengkou early on the third day, which meant they would have to head into the mountains again at night to deliver the goods there. Over the past 2 days, Li Qingshan had been studying the best route from that gang of bandits' cave to Haifengkou. He pored over maps, marked key points, and repeatedly worked through every step. He was planning an ambush, and he intended to strike only after the deal at Haifengkou was completed. In the end, he chose a hidden valley between the 2 points. The woods there were dense, making it suitable for him to operate. With no gun in hand right now, the only thing he could rely on was the spatial ring. Once this job is done, I'll have a gun, Li Qingshan thought to himself. Just as he was studying the route, Wang Taizhu came by and immediately slipped into Li Qingshan's hut. "Qingshan, didn't you ask me to keep an eye on Lu Changming? I noticed yesterday that he took away a standard crate of bullets. I clearly remember there were still bullets inside. But when I checked the warehouse release register, the records showed that everything had already been checked out." Li Qingshan understood as soon as he heard this. "Brother Taizhu, when you brought that crate back, did you register it when it was put into storage?" "Of course we registered it. The number, quantity, and model of every crate all have to be recorded." I understand. Go on about your business, and perform while lately strive to become the militia captain." Li Qingshan said no more than that, then sent away the utterly bewildered Wang Taizhu. It seemed that he too had to take action. According to their planned schedule, they would go deliver the goods tomorrow. Before dawn on the third day, Li Qingshan quietly left his hut and hurried along the mountain path, stealthily making his way toward his predetermined ambush point. By the time he arrived, it was already broad daylight. This place was estimated to be about a 2-hour journey from their delivery point, Haifengkou, and also about a 3-hour journey from the bandits' cave. Li Qingshan figured they had already completed the delivery. Then he found a spot, took out a shovel, and began digging and digging, even humming that saying from later generations, digging and digging in a tiny little garden, planting tiny little seeds, and growing tiny little flowers. Meanwhile, as Li Qingshan was busy digging, at Haifengkou, the two groups arrived one after the other. Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng arrived first, nervously scanning their surroundings. And after confirming it was safe, they quickly unloaded a crate of goods from the horse cart. The horse and cart had both been borrowed from the collective in those days. No ordinary family had that kind of livestock. Not long afterward, the bandit chief Zhang Balian arrived with his men and warmly stretched out both hands. "Ah, my two good brothers, sorry to keep you waiting." Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng responded warily, "Brother Zhang, the goods are here, where's the money?" Zhang Scarface laughed and said, "Open the box and let us take a look. We have to inspect the goods after all." In fact, when Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng saw that there were 5 people on the other side, all carrying guns, their legs started to tremble. Even if the two of them had brought weapons, if it really came to a fight, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. Wang Xiaohu forced himself to stay calm. "Brother Zhang, we've dealt with each other for a long time. Don't you trust us?" A sharp look flashed in Zhang Scarface's eyes, but he still replied with a smile. I trust you, but rules are rules." As he spoke, he signaled his men to open the box, his sharp gaze sweeping over it. Seeing the neatly arranged golden bullets inside, he nodded in satisfaction. Zhang Scarface waved for his men to hand over a heavy cloth bag. "The goods are good, this is your payment." Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng took the cloth bag and secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but they did not dare let their guard down and quickly checked the money inside. Just as the two lowered their heads to inspect it, Zhang Scarface's expression suddenly changed, and his hand shot toward his waist. Sensing trouble, Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng suddenly looked up, only to see that Zhang Scarface had already drawn his pistol and aimed it at them. "Haha, you won't be able to use this money down there. Just wait for someone to burn you some spirit money." Bang, 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 a burst of gunfire echoed through the valley, and Wang Xiaohu and Gao Zheng fell to the ground at the sound, their blood staining the soil red. Zhang Scarface let out a cold laugh, put away his pistol, and ordered his men to quickly load the box of bullets onto the cart. He picked up the money bag and rode off. Wang Xiaohu and the others were simply stupid. 500 yuan, just 50 bills. Was there really any need to put it in a bag? It was obviously done on purpose to distract them. "Boss, what about the horse cart?" one of the underlings asked as he habitually felt through the pockets of the 2 dead men. Zhang Scarface glanced at the cart. "No, this horse and cart are collective property. Leaving them would only cause trouble. Withdraw quickly and don't leave any traces." The underling nodded, stuffed the small bills and 2 pistols he had found on the corpses into his coat, and the group quickly disappeared at the end of the mountain path, leaving behind a horse cart and 2 corpses gradually turning cold. Bandits were bandits indeed, they only killed, never buried. Li Qingshan was digging enthusiastically in the garden when faint gunshots came from the distance. He stopped and listened carefully, his brows tightly furrowed, thinking to himself, "So the business at Haifeng Pass is settled. I need to work faster and finish digging this trench." Li Qingshan sped up his digging, dirt flying everywhere, sweat soaking through his clothes. After about more than an hour, Li Qingshan looked at the deep trench before him and smiled in satisfaction. Now it was time to take a break and prepare for the battle to come. Li Qingshan guessed the timing was about right. Standing by the trench and resting his shovel in his hands, he watched a group approaching from afar. 5 people, driving a horse cart, with a box on it. So he opened his mouth and sang loudly. "In a tiny little garden, dig and dig and dig, plant tiny little seeds, grow tiny little flowers. In a big, big garden, dig and dig and dig, plant big, big seeds, grow big, big flowers." Hearing the singing, Zhang Scarface and his group immediately stopped in alarm. Zhang Scarface frowned and looked around, shouting in a low voice, "Be careful, there's an ambush." The men quickly spread out, tightened their grip on their guns, and stared tensely in the direction of the singing. After a long while, Zhang Scarface put away his gun. "Ambush my ass, it's just some hunter digging a trench, setting a trap. It's fine, let's go." Watching the group slowly approach, Li Qingshan did not stop either, singing as he dug the trench. Li Qingshan had chosen a good spot, right by the roadside on the path this group had to take. Out of the corner of his eye, Li Qingshan caught sight of Zhang Scarface and his men. Secretly delighted, he deliberately called out a greeting. "Hey, guys, what are you up to?" Scarface swept a cold glance over him and said impatiently, "Cut the crap and dig your ditch." Li Qingshan chuckled and kept shoveling, but secretly thought to himself, "You'll find out in a moment. Aren't you just a complete idiot? What kind of song is that supposed to be?" "Ha ha." The bandits burst into laughter. Li Qingshan stuck the shovel by the side of the ditch, took off his shirt, revealing his bare upper body, draped the clothes over the shovel handle, and stood with his hands on his hips. Fuming as he said, "You're insulting me. What gives you the right to insult me?" Taking off his clothes was meant to lower their guard and make them relax their vigilance. It showed that he had no weapon in his hands. Sure enough, when the bandits saw this, They laughed even harder and let their guard down. Closer, closer and closer, he slowly walked in front of the bandits. Just as they were about to raise their guns and chamber rounds, Li Qingshan flicked his left hand, and a flash of silver light passed by. The nearest man vanished instantly. The remaining bandits were horrified and hurried to chamber their guns, but during that moment, Li Qingshan instantly used his space to take in another person, then leaped up and charged into the crowd. As the saying goes, 3 makes a group. Now there were still 3 left. At close range, they had to be careful if they fired, to avoid hitting their own men. With a right leg whirlwind kick, he sent this man flying into Scarface's arms. His left hand swiftly snatched the gun, and his right elbow slammed hard into the man's temple, and the man beside him dropped in response. Li Qingshan had tested this elbow strike before even bricks could be smashed to pieces. At this moment, the remaining 2 bandits hurriedly raised their guns, and Li Qingshan moved like lightning. With a sweep of his left hand, the gun of the bandit who had just fallen landed in his hand. Then he grabbed the bandit's limp body and held it in front of himself as a shield, raised the muzzle, and aimed precisely at another bandit. And with a bang, that bandit dropped as well. Then only Scarface was left. His gun also went off, but this shot hit the bandit standing in front of Li Qingshan as a shield. Seeing that things were going wrong and that he hadn't hit his target, Scarface kept firing. Bang bang bang, several shots rang out in succession, just as Scarface raised his gun and fired wildly. They all struck the human shield in front of Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan raised his gun and fired back. Bang, with a single shot, he blew his head off, clean and efficient. In just a few minutes, these bandits were all dead. After killing, of course it was time to loot. He put the box of bullets into his space, thought for a moment, and then emptied the box as well. It would be useful in a while. Then he searched their pockets and pouches. Aside from the 500 yuan, he turned up some loose money coupons and goods coupons, but not much anyway. These bandits were really poor. He put 5 long guns into his space, and there were also 3 short guns, all Type 54 pistols, which he also put into his space. He put the horse cart into his space too, but he couldn't put the horse in there, so he'd ride it for now. Li Qingshan quickly cleaned up the scene. The ditch he had dug was just right. He threw the 5 bodies in, then filled it in, restoring it to its original state, as if nothing had happened. Li Qingshan clapped his hands, put his clothes back on, hummed a little tune, and rode toward Haifengku. He only needed to do one thing: take this empty box and put it back at the scene of the thieves robbing thieves. This was done quickly because he was on horseback. The round trip took less than an hour. Now Li Qingshan needed to hurry to the bandits' cave to deal with the remaining bandits, lest trouble arise from delay. Li Qingshan urged his horse onward, secretly planning how to deal with the bandits in the cave. As he drew near, with about 2 li left to go, Li Qingshan dismounted, tied the horse in a concealed spot, and proceeded on foot in stealth. He crept forward little by little toward that cave. What he was mainly worried about was whether there were any sentries outside. After careful observation, he found there were no guards at the cave entrance, and Li Qingshan let out a sigh of relief. He took out the Type 56 rifle, checked the magazine, and chambered around. He gently parted the weeds and silently approached the cave entrance, pressing his ear against the cave wall to listen to the sounds inside. Someone was talking in there. The boss and the others should have been back by now. Cough. Why are you in such a hurry? The 5 of them went together, so there's definitely no problem. Just wait a bit longer, brother. Maybe they're busy dividing the loot. One person replied lazily, his voice tinged with impatience. Li Qingshan's heart tightened. He quietly stepped back a few paces, found a concealed angle, took a deep breath, and prepared to wait for an opportunity to act. Then he heard footsteps coming from inside. What are you going out for? To take a piss. The speaker had already reached the cave entrance, lifted the covering cloth, and came face to face with Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan moved swiftly, clamping a hand over the man's mouth, and with his other hand struck hard at the side of his neck, instantly making him go limp. Li Qingshan dragged him aside and slipped silently into the cave, raising his gun and firing at once. Bang bang bang, gunfire erupted inside the cave. With Li Qingshan's skills as a king of soldiers, the bandits inside had no power to fight back. They dropped dead before they even had time to fire a shot, all flattened. This was the result of one side being prepared while the other was caught off guard. One inside and one outside, 2 bandits in total, all taken care of. Li Qingshan quickly searched the cave and found some gold, silver, and valuables. No, it was a number of banknotes. Whoa, there was really quite a lot. So this was where it had all been hidden. No idea what kind of business this bunch was involved in. A whole bag of money and notes, and there was no time to examine it closely now. And these guns and ammunition too. All of it went into his space. Looking at the two corpses lying on the ground, Li Qingshan groaned inwardly. Don't tell me I have to dig another pit myself? Helpless, Li Qingshan had no choice but to get to work again, digging and digging in his little garden until he made a deep pit and buried the bodies. He filled the pit back in and disguised it, so nothing looked out of the ordinary. Brushing the dirt from his hands, he secretly felt lucky that everything had gone smoothly, though Li Qingshan still vaguely felt that something was off. He just couldn't remember what for the moment. At this point, this whole matter was about to be wrapped up. Li Qingshan quickly left the cave, returned to his horse, and rode back. The rains had rubbed his hands raw, because he had spent the whole day digging pits, and blisters had formed on his hands. This wasn't his body from his previous life, but the body of this life, one that hadn't yet been tempered, so it was still a bit weak. To keep up the act, Li Qingshan first had to go collect his snares. After these past few days, he wanted to see whether there was any game. Sure enough, the traps he had set worked well. They had caught several jerboas and gray squirrels, and there was also a pheasant. A pretty good haul. Li Qingshan put these prey into his spatial ring and turned to head back to the village. Just as he was hurrying back, Lu Changming of Kaoshan village was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, pacing back and forth and glancing toward the village entrance from time to time. After waiting and waiting, the person he wanted didn't come, but Li Qingshan did. Li Qingshan hid the horse in the woods outside the village and ran all the way into the village on foot. Panting heavily, he rushed into the village committee office, grabbed Secretary Lu's hand, and started shaking, pretending to tremble. Secretary Lu, be big, something be bad has happened. Secretary Lu shot to his feet and exclaimed, Qingshan, speak slowly. What happened? I saw. Li Qingshan patted his chest before continuing. I was patrolling the mountain today, and at Haifeng Pass, I saw the village's horse cart. I thought someone had gone into the mountains to handle some business. So I went over to take a look. Guess what happened? Smack with a sharp sound, Secretary Lu slapped Li Qingshan on the head. What's there to guess? Get to the point. What was in that horse cart? Did something happen? Secretary Lu pressed anxiously. Li Qingshan swallowed and continued. The cart was empty, but there were two people lying on the ground. Two dead people. Who was it? Oh, you're killing me with suspense. Secretary Lu stomped his feet anxiously. Li Qingshan took a deep breath and finally blurted out. It was Wang Xiaohu and another person. I don't know that other person.